not One Piece. I hate One Piece.
You can't hate on One Piece, come on.
Yeah, it was.
I can't hate One Piece.
Oh, okay, but it was on network TV.
Okay, well that's what we're gonna talk about.
It was on Fox.
So,
Only because 4Kids dubbed the damn thing.
so we're gonna read that section.
Of course, I did watch
we're
it
gonna
religiously when it was on, but you know, it was.
welcome my massive audience to anime censorship in America.
If you call it an audience, that is.
Yeah, well, you know, maybe on the web. We'll go ahead and post this. The GarasuNoShiCon channel, blog.
Uncle Fuku said no censorship should be used.
I want you on stage saying that. Come on, get up here. Uncle Fuku says no censorship in America.
Uncle Fuku says no censorship. Ah!
See, that's how strongly we feel about it. I mean, the massive audience here all pretty much agree that censorship in anime is.
Speaking as an executive from Fox News.
Now, obviously, though, that for most fans, I mean, the hardcore fan base has kind of gone, unfortunately, by the wayside. So there's not as much passion for. People naturally do not want things that are censored, but you know they could live without certain concessions, and so the hardcore fan community is kind of drawing back, unfortunately. But anime in America is like censorship is something that was sort of subject to the hardcore fans. They believe it's an alteration of art, and anime is commercial art, but art nonetheless. And you know, compared to I hate stereotyping, but it's got to be said, compared to American animation, Japanese animation is far more artistic, and at least not as pandering. Unfortunately, that doesn't translate very well here in America, where animation is cartoons, and cartoons are for children. So I think the novelty of anime when people first get into it, and this is kind of how you can tell if a fan's going to stay a fan for that long, it's just not a passing interest, that you know, you show them Ninja Scroll back in the day when that was the title that everyone watched. It's like, oh, this is messed up. It's got blood and nudity, and hey, it's kind of like a live-action movie. That's not right. So unfortunately, animation in general has a stereotype attached to it, and unfortunately, for the sake of you know, full disclosure of content, that works against it, and we see anime that is censored. Anime censorship has been with us a long time. It's actually not, it's improved significantly. You see less and less of it I'm not going to say the hardcore fan community so much is an influence as much as the fact that anime itself sells to the mainstream, and it's just, they're like, okay, well, we're selling, you know, our shows to teenagers and that, or we're selling it to a certain audience, so we don't need to censor it. But anime is still obviously airing on TV, targeted children, and it's pretty much almost always censored. In fact, I'm going to say that it's always censored in some aspect. And anime, as I said, has always been censored since, you know, the 60s, and where it wasn't really anime, it was cartoons that just happened to come from Japan, but they never marketed it. It was marketed as animation. They didn't really dwell, like the companies brought over, never really dwelled on where it came from. They would just, you know, they would just treat it as product, send it out, and say, okay, here it is, a quick buck. That's not really the case anymore. I think the awareness of anime is obviously enough that anyone could tell that Pokemon is anime. You know, I don't know how I don't honestly know how they marketed One Piece, because I personally don't watch any anime on TV, because I know something might not be right, and I don't want to have to sit there wondering, I wonder if that was cut out. So, the one thing I mentioned in a previous panel yesterday about anime, the rise and Fall of the Anime Industry, the Death of the American Anime Industry panel, was that Streamline was one of the first companies in the 80s to come out to bring Japanese animation as Japanese animation to America. But they, as the name implies, Streamline, they streamlined it. They mostly, there would be some title edits, and they would dub it. I mean, it was still foreign animation, but, you know, with the concession that, okay, we're going to dub it because people don't want to read and they don't want to listen to gibberish.
Bo!
Sometimes it's not with me, but I accept it.
But then you have in the early 90s, you know, ADV, Central Park, Animego, they started picking it up. They started treating it with a little bit, with more respect, for the most part. I mean, I cannot forgive manga for deciding, let's dub Devilman and not release it a Japanese subtitle track ever, and let's dub it with people who have British accents and mannerisms. And they still have not released a subtitle version of Devilman. In fact, another weird exception, and this is actually a weird kind of censorship. In fact, I'll get to it later, but I'm going to earmark that Angel Cop. In fact, yeah, I just want to cover the marketing aspect of censorship. What bugs me more than anything else is when you. I mean, I can understand editing. I don't really understand editing content because America, of course, American culture has this like political paranoia about children. They want to shield their children from all the bad things of the world. I mean, it's good parenting in theory, but then it's like, okay, you're 18, go out there, and they're like, what? What's all this stuff? I mean, you know, and then they get, you know, I mean, who hasn't had parents who discover like a porno mag in their 13-year-old's sock drawer, and then they freak out about it, and it's like, obviously you had something to do with the whole nudity process because you have a kid here, so, I mean, I'm sure there's exceptions to the boys around that, but most likely, you know, most likely you took the easy way out and just had sex. So you'll see a lot of censorship and everything. What, unfortunately, like, I mean, censorship seems like, I guess if you're going to go that route, fine, but unfortunately it seems like American companies treat children as idiots. In Japan, and Fuku says, well, they are. Well, that's because, look at the differences in culture. In Japan, like Naruto, One Piece, I mean, those shows really aren't, you know, hardcore, like when you stack it up from, like, a lot of, like, 80s animation with organs coming out. But it's like, you know, you have actual deaths, blood, you know, loss, you get some sexuality in there, not so much with the examples, but still. Those kind of things, basically things that would be basically considered PG-13 and even possibly rated like into an R rating by, you know, some paranoid, you know, folk. That's acceptable for children in Japan.
Speaking as a parent of two boys,
This is wonderful.
they're now 13, 15 and 17 years old. I first noticed censorship in anime watching a Dragon Ball Z episode with
Oh,
him.
yeah.
Goku had a little fig leaf pasted over the top of him as he was little Goku as a child, and he was supposed to be running around naked. And they pasted a fig leaf over it, and it was obvious that they had censored that. And I was like, what's the problem? It's ink and paint. It's not
Right.
this is not, and it's a little boy running around naked. It's not a sexual connotation at all.
Right, and I want to earmark that too because that's a good point. And now you're thinking, oh, he said 13-year-olds with porno mags. I'm going to check this out. No, it's good to have a perspective there. I mean, your children are, you know, not the target audience for 4Kids releases of One Piece and Ultimate Muscle, two shows that I actually we're going to cover here.